going into academia, she was a longtime lobbyist in Washington, D.C., often working with senators from California, including Feinstein.
She was formidable. You know, she was a woman of substance for sure. And she brought a tremendous amount of gravitas to that job. So filling those roles is going to be nearly impossible for anybody.
Crane says whoever wins the seat will have to bring their own style of leadership to Washington.
We have the chance to continue to play a big role in the Senate, but it's going to look different.
Frontrunners Adam Schiff and Katie Porter are already known on a national stage. Schiff for his involvement in the impeachment proceedings of President Donald Trump.
We must say enough. He has betrayed our national security, and he will do so again. He has compromised our elections, and he will do so again.
And Katie Porter for her whiteboard breakdowns.
Revlimid costs $763 per pill. I'm curious, did the drug get substantially more effective in that time? Did cancer patients need fewer pills? How did you change the formula or production of Revlimid to justify this price increase?
But longtime House Representative Barbara Lee from Oakland is having a more difficult time gaining traction statewide.
She's probably suffering from the fact that she just is not quite as skilled at raising money because she's represented Oakland and Berkeley and not seen as much of a national figure.
Barbara Lee, there she is right there.
That's a major concern for Bishop Bob Jackson at Acts Full Gospel Church in Oakland.
She understands the plight of the inner city and what's going on, especially with people of color and people who are less fortunate than others. So having that understanding goes a long way.
I look at politics and public service as being able to not tinker around the edges, but dismantling systems that are barriers for full and equal opportunity for everyone.
Bishop Bob says he's worked with Barbara Lee many times over the years and worries the state won't be fully represented if both of the state's senators are from Southern California.
Barbara Lee doesn't have the kind of money that's backing her, but she's from Northern California. So where are we going to be if all of these Southern California people begin to win the Senate race and become senators for the California? Will we be represented? Will we have a voice?
It's separation of powers, checks and balances.
But according to Crane, that's been a long-standing issue in the Senate since there are only 2 for the entire state. A lesson she's teaching to her U.S. politics class.
This is a really, really important seat for California. We have just started talking about this race in my classes. There is no state as big and diverse as California is. So we have a special challenge in finding somebody who can equally represent both regions, the North and the South.
California's primaries are somewhat unique in that the top 2 vote getters will move forward to the general election regardless of their political party. So that means we could actually see 2 Democrats facing off in November.
And former LA Dodgers star Steve Garvey is offering himself up as an alternative to the Democrats.
Steve Garvey just has to be kind of mediocre. He just has to be fine to be second place. The reason for that is that Republicans kind of stay home to party. Democrats scatter all over. It's a deeply blue state. And there are other Republican candidates, like, for example, Eric Early. But Steve Garvey is clearly in the driver's seat.
In the meantime, the seat held by Congresswoman Anna Eshoo for more than 3 decades is also up for grabs. Eshoo was first elected in 1992 in what she called the Year of the Woman. That was the same year Feinstein and Barbara Boxer were also elected. Eshoo is retiring, and now there are 11 candidates vying for that position. The race includes some familiar names: former San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo, Santa Clara County Supervisor Joe Simidian, former Saratoga Council Member Rishi Kumar, and Assembly Member Evan Lowe. Arlen Romero spoke to people in District 16 about what they need and want from their next representative.
Nice well here so that egg can have a nice little place to live.
Danielle Nano and her husband John run Cucina Bambini, a small family business that teaches people how to cook. And today they're making pasta from scratch. Like the meal they are making, they say there are lots of ingredients to make a successful business.
We, as a small business, a small family-owned business, need to make sure that we have the policies in place to be successful and keep this open and keep this running.
They are the shared concerns of many here in Congressional District 16, which for the first time in 3 decades will elect a new representative in Congress. Democrat incumbent Anna Eshoo announced last November that she would not seek another term.
What I hope I leave behind is a legacy of integrity.
Who have been elected before.
The race to succeed Eshoo in this deep blue district stretching from San Jose to Palo Alto includes a crowded field of 11 candidates. There are several seasoned politicians and a few political newcomers who have squared off in a series of public forums, including this one at Palo Alto City Hall.
Please let the
Candidates clashed with each other and members of the audience over the Israeli-Palestinian war and a range of issues closer to home. But it's those pocketbook issues that matter most to Danielle and John, who in addition to running a business are also raising a family in one of the most expensive places to live in the entire nation.
What we're concerned about here as a small business is consistency and safety on the streets. We like to see the prices stay equal or lower.
John says he's looking for whoever represents the district to be able to reach across the aisle to get things done.
Look at Congress, they seem somewhat dysfunctional as far as being able to address things either as a compromise or as getting things done that affect our life here at the small business level.
The couple bought the kitchen in 2021 after it had been shut down for months during the pandemic and have been struggling to build it back up amid a shaky recovery, rising food and utility costs, increasing regulations, and safety concerns for their customers on Lincoln Avenue in San Jose's Willow Glen district.
It's rough. We know the community wants to be here, wants to come out and have fun and have these type of events, and we're trying to bring it back to the community and try to give life back into this.
And still ahead on CBS News Bay Area, California voters are making a $6 billion decision. How the outcome could impact mental health and substance abuse treatment all across the state. Plus, with so much focus on the races for the White House and Congress, we look at the battle over school bonds, how the money will be used and how much it will cost taxpayers, and how one of the most expensive measures in San Francisco would change how police fight crime.
Well, it's another cool and cloudy day for us here in the Bay Area. Just a smidge warmer compared to yesterday, but not by much. Upper 50s and lower 60s are in the forecast for us today with an onshore wind of about 15 to 20 miles per hour. Down in the Santa Clara Valley today, we're hitting 64 degrees and we'll continue to warm up into the upper 60s with sunshine just off into the distance by Thursday and Friday. We just have to get through today and tomorrow first with these unsettled weather conditions, and then it's game on with that beautiful sunshine kicking off this weekend in style, and then we start to see those clouds rolling back in as we gear up for more rain early next week.
Well, one of the most consequential propositions on the primary ballot this year might be Proposition 1. The $6.3 billion bond measure is a key part of Governor Gavin Newsom's plan to create drug and mental health treatment beds. Prop 1 would massively overhaul how the state spends billions in the battle to end the homeless crisis. Critics claim it diverts billions away from already effective mental health services, though. And whatever your stance on Prop 1, there is no question the issues of homelessness and substance abuse need to be addressed. Elizabeth Cook spoke to someone who unfortunately knows what can happen when the right resources are not available.
Renisha Moreno gets off work as a medical assistant at the same time every day. Just as one job ends,
you ready?
The next one begins. Her life is full.
Full is an understatement. I don't know how I complete everything in just one day.
But she always finds time to check in with the people who matter the most.
It's really important for me to make sure that my kids know that I'm there for them. So I actually play Roblox with them every night, and it's kind of become our habit, and it's the way for us to connect. So it's like really, that's like when all the secrets come out.
She's seen what can happen when that connection is lost. Renisha is one of 5 kids. Growing up, she watched her youngest brother Salim struggle from what she believes was undiagnosed mental illness.
And never really got the help that he needed, and part of that was because there were no real resources. The only resources were really punitive, so it never really stuck and didn't really help him.
Salim was addicted to drugs and would often disappear, winding up either in jail or on the streets. He died a few years ago. Renisha will never forget the last time she spoke to her baby brother.
I got to tell him I loved him and told him if he was ready for help, that I was there. I hate to say that I feel like I'm lucky because I got to talk to my brother before he passed, and that's something that a lot of parents and siblings don't get, but it also doesn't help the pain to know that there's so much money out there to help people with addiction, and it seems like there's no real focus on it. He should be here today with his daughter. I still miss him.
Mental illness runs in her family, but getting help just was never an option.
I know even for myself, when I originally got my anxiety diagnosis, it was really hard. Like, I was just like, no, it's okay. I can manage this on my own. I don't need a therapist. I don't need medication. Like, my grandmother raised a strong Black woman. That's what we do. We figure it out and we keep pushing forward. But I think as I dealt with it and then started to see the symptoms in my daughter, that's when I realized it was kind of time to break that generational trauma.
Renisha was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. It took her 1.5 years to find a therapist.
That was probably like the biggest anxiety inducer once I received the diagnosis, because I really wanted someone who I could connect with, who understood my cultural background and why it would be so hard to even accept a diagnosis of anxiety or depression.
With all she has going on, politics is usually the last thing on her mind. But Prop 1, the governor's plan to overhaul the state's mental health system, hit close to home.
Having the resources to get help for substance abuse and mental illness is the difference between life and death. I know that even for my brother, if there were built-in resources where he can go to treatment for 90 days or 6 months, whatever it may be, he could be alive today.
Across town, in a different kitchen, a similar story. Kate Brady has watched her own close family members struggle with mental illness. It's what inspired her to become the board chair for the San Francisco branch of NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Her group helped write Prop 1, but even she admits the issue is complicated, and debate in her local chapter has divided the community.
I think what I feel is that it should not rob Peter to pay Paul. Do not take money away from community mental health services, which are profoundly needed, and put it into housing. We've had so many bills on housing that have never really gotten very far, and I would like to see this money come from elsewhere and to maintain the level of community mental health care we're providing now.
Back home with Renisha, after dinner is made and the family is taken care of, it's time to start her other full-time job. As a full-time student, she's getting a degree in psychology at the University of San Francisco, so she can be a lifeline to someone else who might be struggling and wants help from somebody like her.
It's already hard going to the doctor or to see someone, and when you add in the mental health aspect, it can be very vulnerable. And I want people to know that you can be vulnerable with me, and I'm not going to judge you, because more than likely we had the same childhood and we had the same experiences, and I understand the trauma that comes with that, and I'm hoping that we can overcome it together.
And if Proposition 1 passes, it would make major changes to California's Mental Health Services Act. That passed in 2004, which expanded and modified county mental health systems. Still ahead, an East Bay School District taking its fight for funding to the ballot.
The cost in terms of not doing modernization has been overwhelming.
There's some concern when people go and they vote for this. It is not specific projects.
Experts say the timing of the measure and others like it is no accident. And a reminder, you can stream CBS News Bay Area wherever, whenever. Catch all of our live newscasts plus news and weather updates throughout the day. Find us on the free CBS News app or on Pluto TV.
Throughout the Bay Area today, we're talking about upper 50s and lower 60s for our daytime highs with some cloudy conditions and a light chance of showers in the forecast too. All the way down into the Santa Clara Valley we go. We're sitting in the mid 60s. We'll continue to see a warm up throughout the rest of this week. We have unsettled weather today and tomorrow, meaning there's a light chance of showers anywhere in the Bay Area. But luckily, as we head into the evening hours tonight, we'll see a little bit of a dry break as we gear up for some light showers in the South Bay tomorrow. I want to show you that though on Futurecast. So let's take a quick look at what's going on right behind me. Here's those light speckles of showers kind of building in from offshore today with these cloudy skies. We'll get wind gusts anywhere up to around 15 to 20 miles per hour as that storm cell mostly stays offshore until tomorrow. This is an area of low pressure and it works in a counterclockwise direction. So it's actually going to pull those winds offshore near San Jose with that rain tomorrow heading into the afternoon hours. In total, they could see about an inch of rain all throughout the Santa Clara Valley as that system moves to the south. And then we're left with drier conditions, not only for our Thursday forecast, but sunny skies and upper 60s are expected for Friday too as we gear up for another chance of showers into Saturday.
Well, presidential primary elections in California frequently draw a low turnout, and people who do vote tend to put much more thought into high-profile races for the White House or for Congress than they do the smaller races and ballot measures. But there are still important issues further down the ballot, and as John Ramos reports, this year they include multiple school bonds.
This March primary election may be remembered as the year of the school bond measure, as a number of districts across the Bay Area are asking voters to approve billions of dollars in new taxes. The question is, why is it happening now?
Hey! What's up, guys?
When Principal Monique Walton visits this classroom at Mount Eden High School in Hayward, it feels like something old is new again.
It's open, it's airy, it's bright. And it's a great experience for our students.
The room has new heating and air conditioning, new paint and floors, electric window blinds, and a teaching wall with an 85-inch screen television. Teacher Karen Stevenson says her class has a completely different feel than just a few months ago.
It's a huge difference. Our classrooms were like from the 60s, 70s before.
It was bad. It was bad. It was old. It was wore down.
And you don't have to go far to see that. In the next building over, nothing has changed. There is no air conditioning and the old boiler is broken. So the classroom is cooled and heated with fans and a couple of space heaters. Hayward Unified Superintendent Dr. Jason Ryman says the ongoing refurbishment at Mount Eden is something that's needed district-wide.
The cost in terms of not doing modernization has been overwhelming. We have aging facilities that we need to whereby we need to catch up with making a lot of the capital repairs and improvements that other districts made back 20, 30 years ago.
So they put Measure I on the March ballot, a bond measure that, according to the ballot language, will raise $550 million. But the true cost, including interest, is buried in the fine print, a whopping $1.16 billion. And the measure is being proposed while district homeowners are still paying for 3 previous bond measures.
And so in this particular case, there is more money that is going to be spent on interest to the Wall Street bondholders than there will be actually to build the projects in the school district.
Jason Bezos is an attorney for the Alameda County Taxpayers Association, which opposes Measure I. He says by law, school bond measures are required to list specific projects. But Measure I simply includes all school sites, including, quote, all current or future district sites.
It is a list of every school facility possible and about every possible thing that can be done construction-wise to each part, and so it is not specific projects.
The list even includes, quote, acquisition and or construction of teacher and or workforce housing.
There's some concern when people go and they vote for this, whether they're going to be, fixing a dilapidated school or whether they're going to be building basically or buying a dormitory for school district employees.
But despite being on the list, the superintendent insists they have no intention of using the money for that.
There is no plan that I'm aware of in terms of us engaging and using the bond funds to pay for workforce housing.
If it all seems a bit vague, Bay Area political strategist Eric Zell says that's probably no accident. He says the idea is to lull opponents to sleep.
It is not an unusual strategy in trying to pass bond and tax measures to seek a lower turnout election. And you sort of low-key the campaign because you don't want potential no voters who are anti-tax to show up.
Just like at Mount Eden High, there are plenty of things that could use funding, and many Bay Area districts are floating bond measures in this upcoming primary election. So non-voters who think there's nothing important on the ballot may have a surprise when they open their next property tax bill.
Well, two other notable proposals are Measure C in Sunnyvale, which could raise $214 million in bonds, and Measure A for the Tamalpais Union High School District, which would raise $517 million. That measure will also cost taxpayers more than $1 billion by the time it is paid off. CBS News Bay Area is your place to go for all the results for tonight's primary. We'll have complete coverage on KPIX, Pix Plus, and streaming on kpix.com and the free CBS News app. Coming up in our next half hour in CBS News Bay Area, police in San Francisco could have more power to use surveillance technology. That's not all. We'll take a look at what's at stake in Proposition E. Plus, it's no secret the Bay Area desperately needs more housing, but will Prop A help or hurt? We'll take a look at both sides. Yamamoto, this is The Minute. It is Super Tuesday. Voters across California heading to the polls right now, where they will vote for their presidential nominee and weigh in on a number of state and local races. Be sure to join us tonight as those results roll in on air and online at kpix.com. Meta suffered a widespread outage today. Thousands of users say they could not access their Facebook or Instagram accounts. The website Down Detector says reports spiked around 7:15 this morning. Meta posted on X they're working to restore services. The Mega Millions jackpot has grown to an estimated $650 million after no one won Friday night. The drawing is tonight. The winner will have a cash option of $308.6 million. The Bay Area's only primetime newscast at 8 and 9 p.m. on the all-new Pix Plus 44 Cable 12. I'm Ryan Yamamoto.
been keeping a close eye on the Sierra this past week as they've been battling with one of the strongest snowstorms they've seen so far this season. And in total, as we recap, there's been over 126 inches of snow that's accumulated near Sugar Bowl, over 96 near Palisades, which is pretty impressive considering the fact that Palisades also got 171-mile-per-hour wind gust over the weekend just at the peak. Now back here in the Bay, we got our fair share of rain, and we'll continue to see that really as we head into the forecast today and tomorrow with light drizzle in the forecast, mostly just cloudy skies and cool temperatures, but that's going to linger into our forecast tomorrow too. Watch what happens as we head into this afternoon. Futurecast showing just some light speckles of showers moving in from offshore. It'll be a little bit breezier today, about 15 to 20 mile per hour wind gust along our coastline. That storm mostly stays offshore until tomorrow morning as that area of low pressure, which works in a counterclockwise direction, actually sweeps its way into the Santa Clara Valley, pulls the winds offshore, and then continues to move to the south, giving us over an inch of rain expected near San Jose and less than that along that coastline. And then after that, we start to dry up for our Thursday and Friday forecast. And we also start to warm up those days too. It's going to look beautiful and sunny. And then another chance of showers rolls its way in once again as we head into our Saturday forecast. I'll show you that in the 7-day models in just a bit. But for now, let's take a look at our daytime highs today. It's cool, it's cloudy throughout the Bay Area heading into this afternoon, but it's a little bit warmer. Daytime highs today sitting in the low 60s. Yesterday, we were mostly in the upper 50s. And day by day, we'll progressively get a little bit warmer until we hit Friday with sunny skies and upper 60s. If you don't believe me, take a look at the next 7 days. This is pretty cool. Our forecast is starting to look a lot nicer as we head into the rest of this week. By Thursday and Friday, it's plenty of sunshine to share, which is perfect to kick off the weekend. And we start off dry Saturday too, but there is a chance of showers Saturday evening that could linger into early Sunday morning. And then we'll have more showers rolling in as we head into Monday of next week.
Well, in San Francisco, one of the most expensive ballot measures would change how police fight crime. Proposition E would get officers more power to use surveillance technology and ease restrictions on car chases. Supporters say the recent burglary in the Sunset District is an example of why it is necessary. Police got there just as burglary suspects were getting away, but they could not chase them because the crime did not meet the criteria. Lauren Toms has a look at how Prop E would change that.
Clara Keegan was driving this blue SUV when a police chase ended in a fiery crash on the other side of the Bay Bridge last December. Keegan wasn't the suspect, but she says the suspect crashed into her vehicle after fleeing a crime in San Francisco. And nearly 3 months later, getting in the car even to get to work remains a challenge.
I was in a lot of shock. I was very disoriented, really couldn't process what had happened to me. The pain didn't really set in till around, 5 minutes after I got out of my vehicle. And I just wanted to see my family.
The San Francisco native was lucky to walk away with minor injuries, but during her recovery, she learned about Proposition E, a ballot measure that, if approved, would open the door to the use of high-tech police equipment, including facial recognition software, reduce written reporting of certain incidents, and lessen the power of the police commission. It would also broaden police's chase policy to include certain misdemeanors. And for Keegan, that's what she's fighting to prevent.
So it really felt like the police chases in San Francisco are already out of control, and I was really upset to see that they're hoping to expand them.
Backed by Mayor London Breed and the police union, the proposition has gained over $1 million in fundraising. Supporters like Police Officers Association President Tracy McCray says the measure will give the SFPD more non-lethal resources that they believe will boost public safety.
People who want to commit crimes think that we're not going to chase after them or try to apprehend them. Will they feel more emboldened to just commit more? We need more tools. So when we feel the pursuit has crossed that threshold to be more dangerous than, maybe apprehending them at the time, it'd be nice if we could lift the drone up, right, and say, okay, they can follow.
She says the measure could help combat the chronic understaffing issues that have plagued the SFPD and are currently being supplemented by millions in overtime costs.
Leveling the playing field, getting tools and technology to help us, because we're not pulling in people into this profession at the rate that we used to.
But for Keegan, it's investments in community resources that she believes are the answer to public safety.
One of the people driving the vehicle was 17 years old. I think we need to really invest in people to prevent people from doing bad things that hurt other people.
Hopeful she can return to a feeling of safety and security in the city she strives to grow with.
And a recent poll shows that Proposition E has about 61% of voter support in San Francisco, while 37% of voters oppose it. Then there's the issue of housing in San Francisco. There's no denying we need more of it. In fact, the state is demanding it, but the debate is how over to get it. Supporters of Proposition A say it will pave the way to build thousands of new units, but a critic told our Max Darrow this is not the answer.
San Francisco is in need of more housing. It's under a state mandate to build 82,000 units over the next 8 years, more than half of them affordable units. And when it comes to going about getting that done, Mayor London Breed believes Prop A is a key piece of the puzzle.
Proposition A is an extremely important opportunity for us to have more dollars coming into the affordable housing department in order to not only build new, but preservation of existing affordable housing units.
San Francisco resident Larry Marceau doesn't.
This is our plebiscite to say no and push back to the state mandates to build an outrageous amount of new housing.
If voters pass Prop A, the city would be able to borrow up to $300 million to be used for affordable housing by issuing general obligation bonds.
It's not asking for new taxes. It's as we retire old debt, we want to take on a new opportunity to invest in affordable housing, and that's what Proposition A does.
Proponents of Prop A say this will help bring much-needed funding for housing that will benefit first responders, nurses, teachers, and others who make the city run. Marceau calls Prop A a bad use of money. He says he's not opposed to general obligation bonds as they play an important role in critical infrastructure. However,
affordable housing, though, is not infrastructure. It's something that we have to build by corralling private sector investment. For San Francisco to build affordable housing, first of all, we need to rebuild the San Francisco economy.
Furthermore, he believes
Proposition A supports this program to dramatically increase San Francisco's density.
Marceau authored the official opposition argument to Prop A in the Voter Information Guide.
This is directly quoting here. Their plan changes the character of every neighborhood, bulldozes the West Side, and brings poverty, drugs, crime, and homelessness to a street corner near you. What do you respond?
I 100% completely disagree with that statement because it's making the assumption that all people who unfortunately live in poverty are somehow associated with crime.
According to 2023 figures, a single earner making $104,000 or less a year is considered low income in San Francisco.
San Francisco is on the hook for another, 46,000 affordable housing units by 2031. Say voters don't pass this.
Well, if voters don't pass this, then we're definitely probably not gonna meet that goal.
Prop A needs to get 2/3 of the vote in order to pass.
And supporters of Proposition A include the United Educators of San Francisco, the San Francisco Labor Council, Senior and Disability Action, and the SF Bay Area Planning and Urban Research Association. Up next, Santa Clara's police chief could become the last elected chief in the state of California. A fight over a measure that would change how the city chooses its top cop.
Well, it's another cool and cloudy day for us here in the Bay Area. Just a smidge warmer compared to yesterday, but not by much. Upper 50s and lower 60s are in the forecast for us today with an onshore wind of about 15 to 20 miles per hour. Down in the Santa Clara Valley today, we're hitting 64 degrees and we'll continue to warm up into the upper 60s with sunshine just off into the distance by Thursday and Friday. We just have to get through today and tomorrow first with these unsettled weather conditions, and then it's game on with that beautiful sunshine kicking off this weekend in style, and then we start to see those clouds rolling back in as we gear up for more rain early next week.
Well, California's primary election is tomorrow, and in Santa Clara, voters will get to decide if they want to give up their right to choose the city's top cop. Measure B could make Santa Clara like every other city in the state after going against the grain for years. One local business owner who was a victim of crime is especially interested in the outcome.
A little bit over 25 years.
For a quarter century,
almost 26 years,
Hamid Ahmadiyya has surrounded himself with diamonds, gold, and all things precious.
I love the jewelry business.
But almost 2 years ago, that love was put to the test.
As soon as they walked in, they bear sprayed me in the face, and then one held the door open, and another 8 to 10 guys came and started breaking up my cases.
His Santa Clara store was hit by an organized smash and grab. He lost thousands of dollars in merchandise.
You know, life has to go on.
And with the fate of law enforcement on the ballot in Santa Clara, Hamid is closely watching Measure B because as a victim of crime, safety is a top priority.
If my customers don't feel comfortable coming inside the store to shop, if they're afraid that while they're inside the store, if somebody's going to attack them or something like that is going to happen, of course, it's going to reflect our business.
Measure B will decide how the city of Santa Clara will choose its next police chief. Currently, the city elects its top cop, but council members Sud Janes, Kathy Hardy, and Raj Chahal want to change the city charter to fall in line with every other city in the state of California.
We currently are the last city in the state of California with an elected chief of police.
Currently, only a Santa Clara resident can run for police chief, and Janes says that limits the pool of qualified candidates.
The pool that we have for the elected chief of police is only 10 officers that are from Santa Clara PD that live in the city out of 153 sworn officers.
Yes on Measure B would change that.
We all think that it's time for us to evolve and adopt a procedure that seems to work for over 470 other cities in the state, and we're the only ones that are hanging on to this old archaic system.
Lisa Gilmore, who has been mayor of Santa Clara since 2016, opposes Measure B and says she takes pride in getting elected by residents in 2022.
It was a pretty amazing experience to be chosen by the residents of our community to represent them and to have the trust of the community.
And she believes the chief of police should have the same accountability to the voters.
The chief lives here, the chief works here, the chief engages with the community on a regular basis.
And along with the mayor, the police union also opposes Measure B and put up a giant billboard along El Camino Real for all residents to see.
I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of the fact we're the only city that elects our police chief. You know, we have 55,000 residents that vote for a police chief. Santa Clara has never been a city that follows what others are doing. We are an independent community. We have done a lot of things that other cities don't do.
For Hamid, whose business sits in Santa Clara but lives in Gilroy, while he cannot vote on the measure, he's truly invested in the outcome of Measure B after being a victim himself.
I just want somebody that is going to care so this thing doesn't happen to another family or another business owner. I just hope whoever the chief is going to be, that they're going to make some changes for the future.
And the current chief, Pat Nicolai, also opposes Measure B, and if it passes, he will go down as the last elected police chief in the city of Santa Clara and the state of California. Regardless of what happens, it won't impact Nicolai. He's retiring at the end of his term. Coming up, Marin County voters will weigh in on the heated topic of rent control, how the proposed protections are dividing renters and landlords.
Throughout the Bay Area today, we're talking about upper 50s and lower 60s for our daytime highs with some cloudy conditions and a light chance of showers in the forecast too. All the way down into the Santa Clara Valley we go. We're sitting in the mid 60s. We'll continue to see a warm up throughout the rest of this week. We have unsettled weather today and tomorrow, meaning there's a light chance of showers anywhere in the Bay Area. But luckily, as we head into the evening hours tonight, we'll see a little bit of a dry break as we gear up for some light showers in the South Bay tomorrow. I want to show you that though on Futurecast. So let's take a quick look at what's going on right behind me. Here's those light speckles of showers kind of building in from offshore today with these cloudy skies. We'll get wind gusts anywhere up to around 15 to 20 miles per hour as that storm cell mostly stays offshore until tomorrow. This is an area of low pressure and it works in a counterclockwise direction. So it's actually going to pull those winds offshore near San Jose with that rain tomorrow heading into the afternoon hours. In total, they could see about an inch of rain all throughout the Santa Clara Valley as that system moves to the south. And then we're left with drier conditions, not only for our Thursday forecast, but sunny skies and upper 60s are expected for Friday too as we gear up for another chance of showers into Saturday.
Well, the housing crisis isn't just an issue on the San Francisco ballot in Marin County. A proposed cap on rent is dividing that community. Kenny Choi looks at what's on the line for both sides.
Freelance photographer Michael Sexton depends on the rental income from the duplex he owns.
You're never guaranteed work. It comes and goes. There's nothing consistent. You don't necessarily have a consistent paycheck.
Measure D in Larkspur would lower the existing state cap on annual increases to 5% plus consumer price index or 7%, whichever is lower. Sexton won't be impacted this time around since he's an owner-occupant in Fairfax, but believes this measure, if passed, will eventually lead to more local municipalities implementing tighter restrictions.
Having the consistency of rental income helps stabilize my monthly payments and allows me to live in Marin.
Philip Hallquist has been renting his one-bedroom unit in Larkspur for 9 years. He says new corporate ownership and annual increases growing closer to the state maximum prompted him to fight back.
I just got fed up. I just said, this is intolerable. I have to do something about this.
The paralegal and other tenants started showing up at city council meetings demanding lower caps on rent hikes.
You feel like that's pushing people out?
Oh, I know it is.
U.S. Census Bureau data shows more than 1/4 of renters in Larkspur spend 50% or more of their income on housing and are considered severely cost burdened.
It's forced eviction in a sense because people feel like, well, I can't afford another rent increase. I guess I better find another place to live.
Kelly Snyder is an urban planning expert and professor at San Jose State.
We want to open and put the accelerator on building as many new units as possible. And rent control measures usually do the opposite.
Snyder believes changing zoning laws and increasing state grants and tax credits to build subsidized housing have better targeted outcomes for those who need it, but also says those options require massive amounts of funding and tax dollars. Rent stabilization regulations can help.
It is a legal way to help a community that has no other options.
Hallquist's anger isn't directed at mom-and-pop landlords, but rather corporations and private equity firms maximizing profit and squeezing the working class struggling to pay rent.
It's the elderly and disabled and, people that have been here for a long time and really can't go anywhere else because they're on a fixed income or whatever their circumstances might be.
And you want to be here?
I do. I love this place.
Property owners like Sexton paying a mortgage make a similar argument.
It helps me be able to live in Marin and helps me to be able to live in this house.
It's a plea from both sides in the midst of a housing crisis extending far beyond the Bay Area.
Well, there are several exemptions to these rent caps for certain buildings, like single-family homes. The measure requires a simple majority to pass. Again, CBS News Bay Area is your place to go for all the results from today's primary. We'll have complete coverage on KPIX, Pix Plus, and streaming on the KPIX.com and the free CBS News app. Well, thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. We'll be right back with your First Alert forecast and a look at your top stories.